Hey everybody, Patty Ann here. Welcome back to another installment, another step of getting your silhouette out of the box and getting going. Hope you're enjoying these classes. This one's all about text and using the glyph tool. So join me. Let's get started. Okay, the first thing I've done is I've come to dafont.com, and you can see it spelling at the top left-hand corner, dafont.com. And I looked up a font known as Shank, S-H-I-N-K. And I'm going to show you how to download this and use it in your Silhouette software. So we're just going to go to download right here in the upper right hand corner. And when I click on that, since I'm using Windows 10 and I'm in Chrome, what it's going to do, it's going to show up here in the lower left hand corner. You notice it says shank.zip. So I'm going to click on this up arrow here and say open. And it's going to open all of these things right here. But the thing is, I have to extract it because I can't use it yet. So I'm going to go to extract all. And I'm going to let it extract into the folder that it chooses. And I have this checked where it says show extracted files when complete. So I'll just hit extract. And there it is. So I could look at the README file if I want to, and basically that's going to tell us that this is just for personal use. So I can get rid of that. Now I'm just going to double click on the one that looks like the font. Here it is. And I'm going to click on install. So it's just going to install it right away for me, just like that. Now the thing is, I won't be able to use this in Silhouette until I close Silhouette. So I have to close it, discard all, I'm not saving anything here, and I'm going to now reopen it. And this time when I reopen it, it should show up in my fonts. So let's look really quickly to see. I'm just going to come over here to the font tool on the left, click on my mat, and just type in the letter A to see what happens. And I'm going to now come over here to the text style panel, and let's see if Shank is in there now. They're in alphabetical order, and there it is, Shank. Perfect. So if I highlight this A and click on Shank, let me go back there again. It will make it in the style of the font Shank. Okay, so that's how you download something from dafont.com. The most important thing to remember is that you close out of your program and then reopen it. So let me delete this. And let me come over here to the text tool again. And I'm just going to type in my name and show you how we can change things. Okay, I'm just going to run through some of the things we could change. So right now, when I clicked off and clicked back on, notice how there are these boxes all around the name. So those boxes allow me to stretch this name or make it skinnier, or I can make it taller like this, or I could change it proportionately by grabbing one of the corner boxes. So I'm just going to hit Control Z on my keyboard to get it back to the way it was originally. So now what you've seen so far is if you look at this text right now, right here, and then look up here, notice it says it's 72 points. That's the size of the text. If I stretch it, let's look and see what happens. Now it's 128.03. So this is the way that you can tell the size of the text if you ever want text to be the same size from one line to another. Okay, the next thing that you can do is you can come down here, and where it says bold, you can click on that and it changes it to bold. You can underline text by clicking the underline button, or you could italicize it if that's one of the options that's available for that text. So this did not get italicized, so I'm thinking that Arial does not have that function available. The other thing that you can do is you can change the character spacing, meaning that, well, can't do that right now. What I have to do is go back into the text editing mode like this and highlight them, and now I can change the character spacing like this. See how it's making them closer or further apart? The other thing that I can do that I think is pretty cool is I can come over here to see where the A is sideways. I can click on that and it automatically turns my font to be vertical rather than horizontal. Maybe I want to get rid of that underline now. I don't like it there. But I can turn it back to how it was. Let's see what else. So now what I can do is I can add another line of text. Just hit enter on my keyboard a few times and type in the word silhouette. And then if I want to, what I can do is click on those and I can adjust the line spacing by coming to the line spacing area over here. So I can make them very close together or very far apart. And I can still change the character spacing of these here. And I can still change them so they could be vertical, just like that. I can move this over with that button, or I could change it back to the other way, horizontal. I got to click on it to select it and make it horizontal again. Okay, the other thing we can do is we had downloaded that font. So let's find that font, Shank, and look, it changes it into that font automatically. Now, since I changed the letter spacing, the character spacing, I can put them right back together. Now, if I went to go cut these right now, I want to show you something that's going to happen. Okay, did you see these letters, how they're overlapping? If I go to cut them right now and I click on send up here, let me move this up so you can see. If I click send, if I have it on cut, look right here on the upper right-hand corner. When I have it on cut, that means it's going to cut every line, every place there's a place to cut. So it's going to cut right here. There's going to be this little teeny tiny part of this T. If I, on the other hand, say cut edge, it's just going to cut the edge of all these letters, and that's more so what we want. But another way to fix that is this. If we go back to design, all that we need to do when it looks like this is highlight everything, right click and say Weld, and then notice what happened. Those things went away. The only thing is now I can't do this, adjust this like it's a font anymore. So I wouldn't be able to change things as easily. So I probably will go to undo. I'll just hit Control Z on my keyboard till I get back to where it was. There we go. And I'll leave it like that for now. Now let's see. The other thing is I can offset this. But before I do that, I want to show you something else that's really fun with Business Edition and maybe Designer Edition. I'm not sure. So I'm going to click on this to get back to the text editing mode and come over here to the text panel. And this middle button right here, if you hover over it, it says Glyphs. So that means there are some hidden things inside this font that we just downloaded that we can use, and we're going to be able to see them easily right here. Now, if yours are small, you can make them larger by using this little slider here, and then you can just start scrolling down here and you can see all of the different glyphs that are available. So there are fractions and things, but what I really like is when you get down past all of these things. Now look at these letters we start to get. So let's say for silhouette, instead of this H right here, I want to have a fancy H like this one. Okay, so all I have to do is ungroup these things over here so I can grab out this H, and then I can bring this H, double click, and it comes in right here. So I'll just grab it and bring it down here and fit it right into there like that. Isn't that cool? Let's say we don't like, or we want to make the E at the end of silhouette fancier. Can bring this over here and look for the fancier E here. Double click it. It comes in and bring it right here. Now don't get concerned if you bring it over top of this stuff and it starts doing all these twirling stuff. That is for another class, but just bring it down here so it knocks into this one right here. And you can actually click off it and click back on, and then you'll be able to move it easily like that. All right, let's say one more. Let's look through here. Let's say for the P for Patty, I want to make it prettier. So I can come over here and get this P and double click on it. There it comes in. And I can click off of it and then click back on and just bring it down here like this. And of course, as you know, I could resize it if I wanted to. If I wanted to make it really big and bold, I could do that. So the next thing I'd want to do is delete these ones over here I'm not using. And as you'll notice, again, let's scroll in far, and you'll notice that these letters are kind of overlapping each other weirdly, right? See that? So they're not going to cut properly. So what I would need to do is to scroll back out, and I could weld these. But before I weld them, let's do a few more things. Let's change the color. We can come up here and change the color of these. We could change them individually by color since we haven't welded them yet. Change them any colors you like. And this would be pretty much for a print then cut, maybe. And now, because you know if I go and weld these now, as I've taught in my Cricut classes, think of a welder with a blowtorch. When a welder comes over with a blowtorch and he welds things together, they all melt and turn into the same thing. That's what's going to happen when I weld these. They're all going to kind of melt together and they're going to change into the same color. So watch. I got my blowtorch out. I'm heating this up. It's all melting. I'm going to weld. And see that? It all turns into the same color. So that's what welding does for you. It's a good thing because then these will all stay together perfectly when you go to make them, and they won't have extra little cuts. Let me undo that for a second and just double check to show you. Get these all back to the same color. And if I was to take this over now, just like this, send it, what's going to happen if I have it on cut is this. Each one of these little pieces is going to cut into another one. So you're going to have, look at this, you're going to have this little piece here, and you're going to have this little part cut out. So that's what's the problem if you have not welded these. If I go back into design and I right click on this and say weld, now follow me over here and let's send it, and let's look now. Even if we have it on line or simple and we have it on cut, and if we scroll in really closely, we're not going to have those terrible cuts. You see how it's going to be continuous? So welding is your friend. The worst part about welding, however, is make sure you are ready to weld whatever it is. As a matter of fact, I usually suggest you make a copy of whatever it is before you weld, because there is no unweld button. So that means if I continue designing and designing and designing using this right here, and all of a sudden I made a mistake and I wanted to get back to where this wasn't welded together, I wouldn't be able to do so by hitting any kind of button. I would just have to keep saying undo, 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 undo. Okay, I'm going to do one more thing with the glyphs. So I'm going to come over to the text tool on the left again and just type in any letter over here on my workspace, and I'm going to highlight it. And I'm going to come over here again to the text style panel. Shank is still selected here. So I'm going to come up here and look at its glyphs again. And I saw one in here that I wanted to put at the bottom underneath. And it's right here. I was going to put this underneath of it. So I just clicked on that, and that changed the letter that I had highlighted to this. And of course I can make it larger if I'd like to. And I think I will make it, excuse me, the pink color. Just like that. So now what I can do if I'd like to is I can just go ahead and make an offset on all of these because that was the last thing I wanted to show you. So let me group this together so it stays nicely. This is fine. I'm going to group this together and just kind of move. Oh, I missed the little I, didn't I? So let me hit Control Z. How did I miss that guy? There. Oops. I got Patty in too. There we go. I got him that time. I'm going to group. And now he should be grouped. There we go. And then move this up as well. So the next thing I'm going to do is just highlight everything and say offset. And that's the little star that we've used before. And I'm just going to click on the word offset. And notice it puts an offset around there in a jiffy. I can change the size of it, as you know, to make it smaller or larger. And once I hit apply, I'll no longer be able to mess with this particular offset. So once that's done, that is done and ready to go. So notice I can't change its distance anymore. If I click offset, I'd be putting another new offset on there. Of course, as you know, I can change the colors of the offset. So maybe I want to make it purple, which is really bright. I need to make sure I have the offset selected. And I can tell that because right now, if you look up here, it's a transparent color. I'll make this one, maybe a lighter purple would be better. It's kind of lame. I think I like the darkest one the best. All right, and so I could do this, and then I could just cut out these two colors of vinyl and layer them. There are some other tricks. Oops, I just changed the color of that middle part, so let me undo that. And I want to get the offset. So I got to click the outermost thing, make sure it's transparent because that's what it is right now, and I can change it to the purple. Okay, so as I said, right now I could go ahead and make these. They would be different pieces. This piece would cut out by itself, and this piece would cut out by itself, and I could layer them like that. Or another thing I could do, and this is going to be in another advanced class, but let me just show you very quickly. What I could do is I could take the patty that's the pink, hold down my Alt key and copy it. Oopsie. Let's see. Hold down my Alt key now and make a copy. There we go. And now I can take this one and select these two items and come over to the Modify panel and say Subtract. So that subtracts that right out of there. And then what I could do is I could come up here and put this back in here and they'll fit together perfectly. There are some more tricks to this that I'll be showing in upcoming classes to make this a little bit easier when you're layering your vinyl. But you get the idea. What that did was it punched out the vinyl. Let me undo that. Control. Okay, so what I needed to have done was to group these. Group. So what that did was it just chopped that pink part right out of there, and then I could bring the next pink part and just fit it right in there like that. So we don't have layer upon layer upon layer of vinyl, and it's especially good to do if you wanted this purple to be glitter. You know how you shouldn't put other vinyl on top of glitter. This would work perfectly like that. But again, this is for an upcoming class, so you can stay tuned for those. I'll have information about them eventually. So that's pretty much it for today's lesson. I hope you're enjoying these lessons and learning quite a bit from them. I am enjoying teaching these classes. I hope to see you again soon, next week, for your next installment. Thanks. Bye-bye.